Back during the pre-release days of Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, I was trying my best to predict the game. I failed on a lot of things, but one path that I followed was that of the legendaries in these new entries being related to space somehow. When we got the games, I kinda forgot about it because they didn't seem to be, but something changed with the DLC. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about space? Let's get into it. So far, we have interacted with space 2 times in the Pokemon universe. First when we actually went there to fight Deoxys with Mega Rayquaza, and then a different kind of space, the Ultra Space in Gen 7. This showed us an interest in what's beyond the Pokemon world, something that has actually always been a part of the franchise. In order to reach our destination today, we kinda have to go back to the past and talk a little bit about it, because understanding the past helps us understand the present and the future. So sit back, click that subscribe button, and let's talk about Clefairy. I promise it matters. From the beginning, you had a bit of a thing with the moon, with Clefairy being the original Pokemon that showed us a tie to space being explored. They are the moon dancers and theorized to actually come from there. So, from then on, the places where you actually find Clefairy can most of the time be connected to it. Clefairy originally spawned in Mount Moon, a place with an obvious connection to meteorites, and while it didn't spawn in Hoenn in the OG games, Auras made Clefairy an hidden Pokemon in Meteor Falls and Route 115, the one next to Meteor Falls. After this, scene is where things get a little bit disconnected as Clefairy spawns in Mount Coronet. While Mount Coronet can somewhat be related to space, as there are different kinds of space there, I guess, as different dimensions are easily reachable in that place, Dialga's, Palkia's, Giratina's, and even Arceus dimension, it isn't really connected to the space I'm talking about, but it is still a special place where Clefairy spawns. In Gen 5, things get super interesting because Clefairy spawns in the Giant Chasm. This place is known for being where you can catch Kyurem, a Pokemon said to have fallen to the Pokemon world in a meteor according to the Lacunosa town legends. So, a Pokemon from outer space. Even the Giant Chasm itself appears to be based on the Tunguska event from 1908, which was a shard of a comet that hit the Siberian taiga and formed a huge crater flattening around 80 million trees. After this, Clefairy doesn't really spawn in Kalos, but in Gen 7 it spawns in Mount Hokulani, which is where the observatory is and the only place where you can catch Miniors, which are obviously connected to outer space, being Rayquaza's food in the ozone layer. In Galar, you find Clefairy in many different places, but that doesn't really break the chain, it just makes it stronger as Galar is basically completely connected to outer space. Eternatus, just like Kyurem, fell on a meteor 20,000 years in the past, with its energy serving as the fuel to keep the region going, as well as being everywhere in the wild area inside of Raid Dance. And this leads us to right now, where Clefairy isn't in Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, at least not in the base game, but is in Kitakami and in a very interesting place. Clefairy spawns in Yoni Mountain, the place we've seen so many times during the trailers and where you can eventually catch Ogerpon. But that's not all there is in Yoni Mountain. If you climb all the way to the top, you find the Crystal Pool, a place where there are Terra Crystals. That's the only place where you can find this Pokemon, and it got me thinking. I've talked about this before, but there are usually 2 ways a crater is formed. They either are formed through volcanic activity, through an explosion, and known as volcanic craters, or they are formed from something that impacts the surface coming from above. These are known as impact craters, or sometimes as meteor craters. And when you go to the Crystal Pool, it also has a bit of an impact crater kind of thing going on. The raised edges around it makes it feel like something fell there. And this is where I started going back to the old theory and connecting it to what we know right now. Terapagos, the Pokemon responsible for the terrestrial phenomenon, fell in the Pokemon world exactly like Eternatus and Kyurem did, inside of a meteor. According to what Ryford says, the crater was formed around 1 million years before present day. This isn't the oldest dated event in the Pokemon world, of course, since a lot of the fossil stuff is said to have happened 100 million years ago, for example. But when it comes to legendary Pokemon, it is the oldest connection we have, but the Pokemon world history is confusing to say the least. Still, somehow, the same energy that exists inside the crater is also in Kitakami. The energy connected to one Pokemon is in 2 different places, and we have no idea about Terapagos ever leaving the crater, as the professors found it there and Hit also did the same in the past. What I think happened is that something fell to the Pokemon world, something that carried Terapagos inside. I believe this was somehow attacked. It might have even been Rayquaza or some other unknown Pokemon that lives in the outer layers of the Pokemon world. This failed though, and it ended up falling anyway, but it broke it and a part of it fell in what would eventually become Kitakami. Still, the main part where Terapagos was fell in Paldea, forming the great crater we've explored. And wait a minute, because this is where this comes in, we actually have two Pokemon related to the terrestrial phenomenon, one that fell in Paldea, Terapagos, and another one that fell in Kitakami that we know nothing about. But as fun as that is, well, I highly doubt that is the case. We know for a fact now that Terapagos is the little turtle, the middle turtle, and the disc Pokemon, so I don't think we'll see anything extra coming from the terrestrial phenomenon. What I wanted to highlight is how so many of the powerful Pokemon of these last few gens have been connected to space. If Terapagos ends up fitting that mold, they have all fallen in the Pokemon world the same way, and with meteor showers being such a common thing, and probably even being the reason Pokemon even exists, since the lore tells us that life energy was likely connected to those same meteor showers, they are all very important in the shaping of the Pokemon world as we know it. But the question I have is, how long until we are the ones that actually go there? Space exploration feels like the next step in Pokemon, and I feel like they might be building up to some kind of threat that exists in a place where we have to travel a long time to reach. And that is all I have for you today. I believe that space is very important in the current state of Pokemon lore, but what about you? What do you think formed the Crystal Pool? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content, and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. You can follow me on social media and Twitch, I'm there Wednesday to Sunday, not Saturday, or join our Discord. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.